Now teaming up to crack down on violent crime. It's the focus of an FBI forum taking place today, expected to draw police officers from around Connecticut. Channel 3 Eyewitness News Bureau Chief Matt McFarland is live at the mobile newsroom in Waterbury with those details. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Roger. Here in the Brass City, there have been a number of violent incidents lately. Oftentimes that violence is targeted, and that's exactly what the FBI is going to be talking about later today. The FBI is hosting a symposium that is going to draw law enforcement agencies from all across Connecticut. The main focus, ways to prevent those targeted attacks. That's because, according to the FBI, when it comes to these violent incidents, a large percentage are known in advance to at least one person besides the perpetrator. The FBI will use today's educational forum to share with state and local law enforcement agencies the latest when it comes to its research, threat assessments, and targeted violence prevention methods. Now, here in Waterbury, there have been 10 homicides in 2023 as opposed to 6 last year in this same time frame. The chief says many of those murders, isolated incidents, the results of personal conflicts, and it's the same across major cities all across the state, from Hartford to New Haven.
We're continuing to work with our community groups, certainly work with our state and federal partners to make sure that we continue strong, aggressive investigations.
And the FBI special agent in charge, along with members from various police departments, expected to talk about that need for collaboration later today. The symposium taking place at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy in New London. We're live at the mobile newsroom in Waterbury. Matt McFarland, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.